If it's not NBA, don't put it on the TV. NBA busts who turn out. Oh. If it's not NBA, don't put it on the TV. NBA busts who turned into superstars.
Draft
Let's go.
And were supposed to become superstars. But because of laziness, injuries, and incompetent coaches, they struggled and almost became busts. However, these are stories of players who overcame these early obstacles and became NBA legends. These are the NBA busts who saved their careers.
See who
During
he
his senior
says.
season at Oregon State in 1990, Gary Payton was featured in the cover story of Sports Illustrated as the nation's best college player. GP
The best
was a
college
consensus
player?
All-American, a three-time All-Pac-10
No
selection,
comp back
and the
then.
Pac-10 Defensive Player of the Year. At the
Yeah,
time
he's
of
a
his
defensive player of the
graduation,
minutes,
Payton
bro.
held the school record for points, field goals, three-point field goals, assists, and steals. And it was
Wow.
no surprise when the Seattle Supersonics drafted him second overall in the '90 NBA
Really?
draft.
The Seattle
I did not know that.
Supersonics select
I knew he got drafted by Seattle, but I didn't know he was the second pick.
All his life, Payton was the man. And when he came to the NBA, he was spoiled rotten. He thought the league would be easy and that he would dominate in the pros, like he did in college. I was struggling for the first 2 years because I had lost myself. I didn't think I needed to work out. I was mediocre, and Seattle wanted to trade me. Payton averaged just 8.3 points during his first 2 seasons. His attitude was awful, and he had all the signs of becoming a huge bust. But then, with the help of an assistant coach, Tim Gerberich, GP started watching films, spending time in the gym, adding muscle to his thin frame, and shooting thousands of shots during the offseason. And it made a world of difference.
Look at that
By year
pass.
4, Payton was averaging 16.5 points per game. He was one of the most efficient guards in the league, and
Insane
arguably
pass.
the best defender at his position.
Yeah, he
From
was definitely the best
1994
defender
to
as a point guard, for sure.
GP averaged 21 points, 8 assists, and 2 steals per game, becoming the first point guard to win the Defensive Player of the Year award.
Really?
Along with
I didn't know he was the
9 selections
first.
to all defensive teams and 9 All-NBA teams. And 1 year after Payton made the 1996 NBA Finals, another high-profile college point guard came to the NBA and struggled, just like Payton. Chauncey Billups was the 3rd overall pick in 1997, selected by the Celtics. But due to his poor play, Boston traded him midway through his rookie season. In his first 4 seasons in the league, Billups had been traded 3 times,
Damn.
playing on 4 different teams.
Holy shit. I remember when he played for the Nuggets. Well, I might have been alive. But I remember like watching highlights of him on the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. I didn't know he played for the Celtics, I'm gonna be honest. And I kind of remember him on the Raptors, not really. But I remember him on the Nuggets and Timberwolves.
Chauncey averaged 11 points.
I really remember him on the
3.7
Pistons,
assists
though.
during that span, shooting a horrible 39% from the field.
Ugh.
It looked like he was going to end up a bust, who would be out of the league quickly.
Well, I just simply wasn't ready.
But then, in 2002, after the Timberwolves' starting point
Oh,
guard
I wasn't
Jerome
alive
Brandon
yet.
got hurt, Billups took over the starting spot and never looked back. He averaged 14.4 points and 6.3 rebounds in 33 minutes as a starter. And
Yeah,
in
he
the
was
first
solid. He
round
was a
of
solid
playoffs
NBA
against
player.
Dallas, he posted 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists.
like a
per
Jeff
game,
Teague,
showing
you know,
that
one-time
he's one of those
all-star type of
guys
player.
whose numbers improved in the playoffs. After his breakthrough season, Billups became a free agent, signing a contract with the Detroit
Yep.
Pistons.
This is where I
He
remember
would
him at.
become a legend. Under Chauncey's steady leadership, the Pistons made the conference finals for 6 consecutive years, including 2 trips to the finals, and that legendary NBA championship in 2004 when Detroit upset the Lakers. with
Insane.
Billups
I heard that
winning
Michael
the
Jordan
finals
traded him there
MVP.
just to stop
During those
Kobe.
playoff runs, Chauncey earned the nickname.
I don't know how true that
Big
is.
Shot because he always hit the biggest shots in the clutch. A total opposite of his early career. And this next player was also considered a bust, but for completely different
Andrew
reasons
Bogut?
than Billups.
He had that
Drafted
crazy
first overall in
injury, bro.
2005,
Nasty
the
injury.
Australian center Andrew Bogut should have been one of the best players
He-
in the
he was
Milwaukee
pretty
Bucks
good.
history, and their best big man since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Really?
As a
That's
sophomore
the
for
praise he
University
had?
of Utah,
I know he was the
Bogut
first overall
ranked
pick.
19th in the NCAA in scoring, 2nd in rebounding, and 8th in field goal percentage. And the Bucks thought that he'd continue to dominate in the NBA.
I think Andrew's going to be a better team defender.
And even though he was never a great scorer, averaging just 12 points in his first 4 seasons with Milwaukee, Bogut was a phenomenal defender, a great rebounder, and he had excellent court vision.
Did he get hurt his
Rare
rookie year?
centers who could run plays
Or was that
and
like year
open
2 or
cutters.
3?
In the 2010 season, Andrew had a breakout year, averaging 16 points, 10 rebounds, and
No.
2.5
Okay, he played
blocks
5
per
years
game,
in the
which
Bucks.
earned him the selection
I honestly thought Andrew Bogut played like 2 seasons on the Bucks, honestly.
to the All-NBA.
I did not
third
know he
team.
played
But
5
in
years
one
on
of
the
last
Bucks.
games of the season, Bogut suffered a nasty fall, landing with all of his
bro,
weight
I
on
don't-
top
I
of
hate
his
that
wrist,
shit, bro.
while his arm twisted as he
Nasty
landed. The next
shit.
day, Bogut was diagnosed with a broken hand, dislocated elbow, and sprained wrist in what was one of the worst on-court injuries in NBA history.
Oh my God, bro, stop showing that shit. Fuck.
And was considered for the Defensive Player of the Year, multiple other injuries derailed his career.
Yeah, I didn't know he had other
Across his
injuries
first
too.
7 seasons in the NBA, Bogut missed over 200 games, completely failing to meet the high expectations set by his spectacular college career. And so the Bucks lost patience with him. And on March 13th, 2012, Bogut and Steven Jackson.
Nah, Bogut's a big reason the Warriors won that championship. 20, the one before LeBron beat him. He's a big reason.
Brown, but he played his role to perfection.
He did.
He was a defensive anchor and a great rebounder,
And the pick and roll too.
Just 23 minutes per game. But even more importantly, Bogut was a great leader with an immense contribution to the Warriors' title in 2015.
2015, yeah, that's when it was.
Record-breaking 73-9 season in 2016.
Yeah, he was a big
I wouldn't
reason.
be half the defender I am without Andrew Bogut, and like he taught me so much about defense that, you know, I owe all my success to him defensively.
And the player who almost got traded for Bogut when the Australian got dealt to the Warriors ultimately remained with Golden State. Even though the initial trade that would send Steph Curry to Milwaukee was already agreed on, it failed because of incompetent Bucks doctors who made the biggest mistake of their careers.
Crazy
The
mistake.
Milwaukee doctors, who probably should be fired.
And to think of Steph Curry as a bust seems sacrilegious after his
But
4
Curry really did have
championships
ankle
and the
injuries,
title
bro.
of the greatest shooter of all time. However, that's precisely what some fans called him during his early years, when ankle injuries were piling up, keeping him off the floor for extended time. Even when he was getting drafted, multiple analysts and fans doubted that Steph would ever amount to anything.
Yeah, they said it was
So
too
many
short.
fans who dislike the Golden State Warriors so much.
And that Golden State was making a mistake for drafting him 7th overall in 2009. He was compared to Boobie Gibson, Kirk Snyder,
Boobie Gibson, bro. I've never heard of him.
and Adam Morrison, one of the biggest
How the fuck did he get compared to Adam Morrison? That's not even the same position.
draft busts of the century. It's hard to even describe how much comments like
belong
that,
on the AAU
all this
team.
analysis that people would
Oh,
put
they
out
was
there,
flaming
all these
his shit.
scouting reports and whatever, that kept the focus on what I supposedly couldn't do.
Oh, they was
Steph. And even
flaming
though Curry
his shit. They
played
say he looked
well
like
in
a
his first
kid.
couple of seasons, finishing 2nd in Rookie of the Year voting and breaking the franchise record for three-pointers made in a season, his health and availability quickly became a problem. Steph underwent ankle surgery after the 2011 season, which caused him to miss 40 games of the 2012 season. And after he re-injured his ankle, the Warriors lost faith in him, offering Curry to Milwaukee in exchange for Andrew Bogut. But the Bucks doctors believed that his ankle problems were unsalvageable, nixing the trade, after which the Warriors included a fan favorite, Monte Ellis, in the deal for Bogut. The Warriors fans were livid, thinking that Ellis was a better player than Steph.
Now,
And in the
at
offseason-
that time, Monte was better than Steph. Nobody can say different, bro. Monte Ellis was gonna be the future of the Warriors, bro. I think it was the coach back then who really he believed in Steph. That it was the one before Steve Kerr. I don't know his name. Mark something? I don't know. I don't know his name for real, but he believed in Steph, bro. It takes
When
one
Curry
person to
signed
believe
the
in you.
$44 million extension with Golden State.
Holy
a lot of
shit, he
people were
believed in them
thinking
that
It
much?
was a terrible decision for the Warriors.
It wasn't
Many
Steve Kerr who
analysts are
kept
saying
him.
that
It was
he
the
a
dude
guard
before
who
Steve Kerr.
couldn't
I don't know his
pass
name,
or
though.
defend well, and that he had tissue paper ankles.
He
While
does.
no media member called him a bust per se, the reaction of the fans and the Warriors' willingness to trade him in 2012 certainly made it look that way. But Curry wasn't the only player who got labeled a bust due to his injury struggles, only to win the
It was
league
him. It was him.
MVP several years
That dude
later.
that just
When
dabbed him
Joel
up on the
Embiid
head.
got drafted by the 76ers in 2014, the Sixers already knew he would miss the majority of his rookie season due to a broken navicular bone in his foot. But what they didn't know is that Embiid would miss the entire 2015 season, and due to the complications with his recovery, that he'd miss the whole 2016 season as well.
Holy
but when
shit.
Embiid finally suited up, it was clear that he was the most talented player in his draft class.
Embiid's
The man from
overrated.
Cameroon averaged 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 2.5
Embiid
blocks in
should
just
be better than
25
what he
minutes
is,
per
which is
game,
insane to
showcasing
say,
dominance
but he should be
on
better
both
than what
ends
he
of the
is.
floor. However, after just 31 games, Joel got hurt again, this time tearing the meniscus in his left knee.
That
After he
sucks.
got ruled out for the season and only played 31 games in 3 years, the bus
If Embiid
labels
stayed
started
healthy,
to
bro,
get
and
thrown
really
around.
played all
Embiid
82
was supposed
games,
to
he'd
become
be
the
the
next
fucking Wilt
Hakeem
Chamberlain
Olajuwon.
over here.
He kept looking more like Sam
No
Bowie.
bullshit.
When he became an all-star in 2018, Embiid talked about about the tough times he had with injuries. With me missing my first 2 years, everyone calling me a bust and saying all this stuff about me, it's so much sweeter to actually be here now with all the All-Stars. However, while some players don't reach their full potential because of injuries, others fail due to franchises sabotaging their progress. Such was the case of Jalen Rose, who got famous in college as a member of the Fab Five, a squad that reached 2 NCAA finals. But when he got to the NBA, Rose was drafted 13th overall by the Denver Nuggets.
Right.
He never really unlocked his full potential. Rose averaged 9 points and 5.5 assists per game in his first 2 seasons.
That's solid.
Then
That's
the
not
Nuggets
bad.
traded him to Indiana, which nearly killed his career. Under Coach
Really?
Larry
I didn't know
Brown,
that.
Rose often collected DNPs, playing just 18 minutes per game, while scoring just 7 points and 2 assists in his first season for the Pacers.
Larry Brown was trying to get me out of the league. But I did the opposite. I showed up early, I stayed late, I made sure I outworked everybody in practice.
However, after the 1997 season, Larry Brown left the team, and in his place came another Larry, who also happened to be one of the best players in NBA history. Bird saw a lot of potential in Rose and helped him revitalize his career.
Larry was the guy that helped validate me. My career needed to be refreshed.
In the next few seasons, Rose
Yeah, because
went
I
from
remember
very
Jalen Rose
to
on
becoming one of the
Indiana. That's
best
like what I
players
know
on
him
the
for,
team
really.
that reached the NBA Finals.
So for him to
Also
say
winning the
they
most
wanted him out the
improved
league is
player
crazy.
award that season. From 2000 until 2005, Jalen averaged 19.3 points, 4 rebounds, and 4.5 assists per game.
Big jump.
Showcasing that great coaching and player development can often make the difference from being kicked out of the league to a 9-figure contract. Another team that parted ways too soon with a player selected in the lottery was the Cleveland Cavaliers, who drafted Kevin Johnson 7th overall in
Who was this?
1997. However, after just 52
I never heard of
games
Kevin
he played
Johnson,
for the
I'll be
team,
honest.
The Cavs traded Johnson to Phoenix, where KJ quickly showed the Cavaliers that they made a big mistake. After averaging only 9 points off the bench
Give me
for
that
Cleveland,
shit.
playing behind Mark Price, Johnson averaged 12.6 points and 8.7 assists for Phoenix for the remainder of his rookie season. In his second year, KJ improved those numbers to 20.4 points and 12.12
Damn.
assists, which was the
Double-double.
third best mark in the league behind John Stockton and Magic Johnson. KJ won
I
the
never
Most
heard of
Improved
KJ.
Player Award. He made the second All-NBA team and finished 8th in MVP voting, just 1 year after the Cavs found him obsolete. Between 1989 and 1997, Johnson averaged 20 points and 10 assists per game with 3 All-Star appearances, proving himself as one of the best point guards of the 90s, even though the Cavaliers thought he was going to be a bust. But there's another Johnson who got off to a slow start
Joe
in the
Johnson?
NBA and later became one of the best isolation scorers of all time. Just
Yeah,
like
smooth.
Kevin, Joe Johnson got traded midway through his rookie season, replacing Boston with Phoenix. But even in his second season, Joe didn't show any signs of becoming a future superstar. Drafted 10th overall in 2001, Johnson averaged just 8.7 points per game in his first couple of seasons. But then he exploded. In his third year, Joe improved his average to 16.7 points. And over the next decade, he averaged 19 points and 4.5 assists with 7 All-Star appearances. ISO Joe scored over 20,000 points in his career.
Damn.
This next player was even better. Dirk Nowitzki came to the NBA in
What is that
1998
haircut?
as the 9th overall pick. And even though he became an NBA legend and one of the
I
8
just
players
didn't
in
recognize
NBA
Dirk with that
history who
haircut, bro.
scored
You had
over
that haircut, no
30,000
offense.
points, early signs looked grim. As a rookie, Dirk wasn't accustomed to the physicality of the NBA. He couldn't guard anybody and struggled to score. Nowitzki averaged just 8 points and 3 rebounds per game, shooting 40% from the field and 20% from 3. At one point, Nowitzki even contemplated quitting the NBA and returning to Germany,
Really?
as he thought he was never going to be good enough to compete in the best league in the world. I was up and down, one good game, then one terrible game. I started
That's how
the season
basketball
in the
is, bro.
starting 5,
Game of
and I
runs.
was lost every game.
Ball
It was
is life. They got
horrible.
some ups
But
and
in his
downs.
second season, Dirk improved significantly, averaging 17 points per game. And by year 3, he had already made an All-NBA team, a feat that he would accomplish for 12 consecutive years. And around that same time, another talented
Damn!
power forward
Who
was
was this?
struggling to get his NBA career on the right track. Drafted 17th overall in 1996, a 6'11" Jermaine O'Neal came to the NBA
Jermaine
straight out of high school. He didn't play
O'Neal.
much,
This is
but
the one
unlike
that Flight
Dirk,
always
he
talks
didn't
about,
get an
bro.
opportunity to showcase his
I
talent.
never watched
Playing
Jermaine
on a
O'Neal
deep
growing up.
Portland team that had an all-star power forward, Rasheed
Like, I knew
Wallace,
who-
and strong as an ox.
Oh, we're just
Gary
not gonna
Trent
talk about
playing
him?
in front
Okay.
of O'Neal. During his first
no,
4
we are.
seasons, Jermaine averaged
Yeah, I didn't watch
11
Jermaine O'Neal
minutes,
growing up.
scoring just 4 points per game, and it looked like he could be out of the league. But then he got traded to Indiana, where he quickly blossomed into an all-star.
Minkum.
In his second season with the Pacers, O'Neal
Minkum.
averaged
Oh, he missed.
19 points, 10 rebounds, and 2.5 blocks per game,
Damn.
which won him the Most Improved Player award and the selection to the All-NBA third team. Between 2002 and 2007, J.O. made 6 consecutive All-Star games, averaging 20, 10, and
Give me that
2.5
shit.
blocks. And this next player was part of the best draft in NBA history, but he was never projected to become one of the best point guards of
Kobe?
all time. When he got drafted 15th overall
Oh.
by the Suns in 1996,
Well, I want to thank Santa Clara, St. Michael's High School, Arbutus Junior High, all my coaches, my family, and my friends. They've done a lot for me along the way, and I couldn't have done it without any of them.
many people thought that Steve Nash would never amount to anything and that Phoenix wasted their pick. Nash was small, he was skinny, and he was Canadian, back when Canada was only known for hockey. And at first, the naysayers were right. Nash only averaged 6 points and 3 assists per game in his first couple of seasons, after which the Suns shipped him to Dallas. And with the Mavericks, Steve didn't fare much better, averaging only 8 points, 5 assists, and shooting 42% from the field in his first 2 seasons in Dallas. But then, in year 5, things finally improved, as Nash thrived next to Dirk Nowitzki and Michael Finley, averaging 15.6 points and 7.3 assists per game in a breakout season. Next year, he was an all-star, and by the time he retired, he'd won 2 MVPs, led the league
Should have been Kobe's. Oh.
and is the all-time leader in 50, 40, 90 seasons.
Really? I didn't know he was the
Four
all-time
such
leader in that.
accomplishments. Nash did all that at
Crazy.
arguably the most challenging position in the NBA. But playing center can be equally hard to master, especially if you come to the NBA directly from high school. That was the path of the second pick in the 2001 NBA draft, Tyson Chandler.
Went through all my interviews talking about I would love to be a Clipper. I get to the phone and you're a Chicago Bull now.
Who turned pro after averaging
Hey.
26 points, 15 rebounds, and 8 blocks a game as a high school senior. But when he had to bang with the big boys such as Shaq and Dikembe Mutombo,
He wasn't ready?
quickly realized that the NBA is a whole different animal. The
He
Bulls
wasn't
center struggled
ready.
early on, averaging just 7 points and 7 rebounds per game in his first 5 seasons in the league. Still fairly skinny and struggling with injuries, Chandler never developed into the defensive stopper and low-post scorer that the Bulls imagined when they drafted him second overall. In a deep draft class with Pau Gasol, Jason Richardson, Zach Randolph, Gilbert Arenas, and Tony Parker, Chandler started in less than 50% of the games for Chicago. And so
Really?
in 2006, they traded
They
him
came
to
to
New
New
Orleans.
Orleans.
Playing with Chris Paul and later with Jason Kidd in Dallas, Chandler developed into one of the best rebounders, defenders, and lob threats in the NBA, averaging a double-double for the next 9 seasons. While he was never much of a scorer, he won Defensive Player of the Year, made an All-Star team, and most importantly, he was a key player on Dallas's 2011 championship run. Now, this next player is still active, and he averaged over 20 points per game for the last 10 seasons.
McCollum?
Yet he never made an All-Star team, and will
McCollum's some
never get
buns,
into the
bro.
Hall of Fame. It's CJ McCollum, the 10th pick of the 2013 NBA draft, who never looked like he'd be a dominant scorer for 1 season, let alone for an entire decade. The biggest problem for McCollum is that he's a tweener, a shooting guard
What?
in a point guard's body, with a small frame that presents difficulties on the defensive end. In his first 2 seasons with Portland, CJ averaged just 6 points per game, as he was too thin to play meaningful minutes on a contending team. But then, in his third
CJ
season,
not bad.
McCollum
I just don't like him
exploded and
'cause
resurrected
he
his
was so
career.
awful
He
on the
averaged
Pelicans last year,
20.8
bro.
points and 4.3 assists per game, hitting 42% of his threes, which earned him the
He's a
Most
knockdown
Improved
shooter, though.
Player award. Over the next decade, CJ established himself as one of the craftiest scorers in the league. And even though he never made an All-Star team, he went from a possible
borderline.
bust to one of the best scorers in NBA history. Thank you for watching. And
Shout out who made this video? Shout out Nonstop, man. Y'all go like, comment, subscribe. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe on my channel. Peace.